Altcoin season is coming and fast, but only if Bitcoin does this first. Everyone's trying to find that 10x altcoin, that one coin that skyrockets overnight and turns your portfolio into a moon mission. But here is the truth. None of that happens without Bitcoin making its first move. Bitcoin isn't just the king, it is the signal. And right now we are closing in on a critical price point that could ignite the biggest altcoin season since 2021. In this video, we're gonna dive deep into the chain reaction that always starts with Bitcoin. We're gonna break down why Bitcoin must hit specific targets to trigger the next phase of the next bull market, how past cycles have followed this exact path, and why timing your altcoin entries could make or break your next few years in crypto. We're also going to take some time to cover the levels to watch, what history tells us, and the strategies that smart traders are already preparing to execute. Altcoin season, it doesn't just randomly appear. It's engineered by market psychology, liquidity flows, and Bitcoin dominance. So if you've been waiting on the sidelines for a signal and you're unsure on when to rotate into alts, now is the time to start paying attention. This isn't just hype. This is the setup. Why altcoins always follow Bitcoin. Altcoins, they may get the attention during crazy rallies, but they're always playing second fiddle to Bitcoin, especially at the start of a bull market. Historically, Bitcoin acts as the initial spark. It brings the capital, the headlines, and then most importantly, the retail flood. Once Bitcoin starts making those headlines and breaks major resistance levels, the general public, they start to pay attention. And that's when the real fireworks begin across the altcoin space. We have seen this pattern play out every cycle. Bitcoin rallies hard first, absorbing liquidity and setting the tone. Then, as it starts to consolidate or slow down, that liquidity rotates into altcoins, especially ones with strong narratives or viral communities. This is where projects like Solana, Cardano, Avalanche, and meme tokens like Pepe and Brett have historically gone parabolic. But without Bitcoin leading that charge first, that altcoin season never really gets ignited. Analysts are pointing to specific behavioral cycles as the reason for this. Investors, they start with Bitcoin for its safety and its familiarity, especially after a long bear market. Only once they feel confident do they begin to branch out into more speculative plays. This herd mentality has played out time and time again. 2017, 2021, and now it is building again for 2025. Altcoins are like the second wave of the tsunami, but you've got to ride the Bitcoin wave first to catch them. This is exactly why closely tracking Bitcoin's price and its momentum is a non-negotiable. If you're waiting on altcoin gains but ignoring Bitcoin, newsflash, you're missing the main indicator. Bitcoin is the ignition key. So if you want to make serious gains from altcoins, your entry timing needs to revolve around Bitcoin momentum and dominance. And in the next section, we're going to dive deep into the historical moves that prove just how real this cycle pattern is. How Bitcoin brings retail into the space and boosts altcoins. Bitcoin is the headline act in the crypto world. Every major bull run starts with Bitcoin leading the charge. And once it gains momentum, it becomes a magnet for media attention, institutional interest, and then retail excitement. When you see Bitcoin climbing past key resistance levels, news outlets start covering it. Influencers start tweeting about it or Xing about it. And retail investors, many of whom sat on the sidelines during the early stages, they begin flooding the markets. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. Bitcoin goes up, interest increases, more people buy in, and it climbs even higher. But Bitcoin is just the beginning. As Bitcoin rises, it tends to create a psychological effect that then spills over into the rest of the market. The average investor might start with Bitcoin, but once they see other tokens moving faster, like Ethereum, Solana, or even a few meme coins, they start diversifying. This shift in attention, it marks the beginning of capital rotation. Bitcoin dominance tends to peak first, and then profits start flowing down into large cap altcoins, then mid caps, and finally, the small, high risk tokens where some of the biggest gains are made. This is the natural progression that we have seen time and time again in previous bull cycles. One of the biggest drivers behind this chain reaction is the new wave of retail participants who are drawn to Bitcoin for its credibility, but quickly get sucked into the world of altcoins simply because of the promise of bigger returns. And once this rotation begins, it's like rocket fuel for the market. Projects that were flying under the radar, those suddenly become the hottest thing on X or Twitter, YouTube, or even Reddit. Random low cap tokens, they can also explode 10x, 20x, 50x, even more, seemingly out of nowhere. All because the flow of new money moves fast and unpredictably once Bitcoin opens those floodgates. It's also worth mentioning that sentiment plays a massive role here. When people see their coworkers talking about crypto or influencers posting insane gains, that tends to trigger some FOMO, but on a massive scale. Bitcoin may be the entry point, but the real action and the real risk, that happens when that retail momentum starts chasing altcoins. If you'd like to make the most of the altcoin rally, you need to understand this pattern and position yourself before the rotation begins, because once it does, things can go very parabolic and quick. Why Bitcoin needs to pass 125,000, maybe 150,000 to trigger a full-blown altcoin season. If you've been around for a full cycle, you know Bitcoin has to reach certain levels before altcoins can begin to fly. Right now, most analysts agree that the $125,000 mark is a major psychological and technical barrier. Once Bitcoin breaks above that level, it's a strong signal to the entire market that the bull market is finally ready to run. It's where institutional money starts flowing harder and retail confidence surges. But even that is just the warm-up. To see a full-scale, face-melting altcoin season like we witnessed in 2021, Bitcoin likely needs to clear $150,000. That is the level where sentiment goes into overdrive. At $150,000, media hype returns in full force. Big-name analysts start calling for $500,000 targets, and crypto becomes mainstream dinner table conversation once again. Altcoins, which often lag behind Bitcoin, begin exploding once Bitcoin begins to stabilize above those levels, because traders feel more confident speculating on higher risk tokens. Bitcoin becomes the anchor, and once it's anchored high, everything else lifts. History shows us this pattern again and again. In the 2017 bull market, Bitcoin exploded first, and then ETH, ADA, and XRP shortly followed with multi-100% gains. The same thing played out in 2021. Bitcoin ran past its previous all-time highs, and shortly after, Solana, Avalanche, Doge, and dozens of others saw exponential gains. Investors who understood the timing and patiently waited for Bitcoin to break critical levels. Those are the investors who capitalized big when the altcoin fireworks began to start. So watching Bitcoin closely isn't just about knowing when to buy Bitcoin. It's your best clue for when the altcoin floodgates begin to open. If we get clean, sustained price action above $125,000, and especially if that $150,000 level is broken, you'll want your positions locked and ready. Because if the past is any indication, when Bitcoin clears those zones, altcoins won't just run, they will sprint. And this time, with bigger players in the game and global attention, the upside could be more explosive than ever before. Basic strategy to prepare for altcoin season. If you want to make the most of the upcoming altcoin season, time to prepare is right now. Not after the charts are already green and your friends are texting you about meme coins. First, you need a solid entry and exit strategy. And that means deciding ahead of time how much you're going to be investing, what projects you're going to be targeting, and at what price points you're going to be buying in. Once things get crazy, those emotions will cloud your judgment. So clarity now is key. Write it down, stick to it, and avoid chasing pumps out of FOMO. Start off by dollar cost averaging into quality altcoins that you actually believe in long term. That could mean layering into L1s like Solana and Avalanche, or maybe even looking at new trends like RWA tokens, AI coins, or some meme coins with strong communities. Do not go all in at once. Please make sure to spread your entries over time and aim to accumulate during the red days when fear is high. This gives you some breathing room and keeps you from overextending during short-term rallies. Please stick to the plan, even if things look shaky in the short term. Next, you're going to want to build a laddered exit strategy. As altcoins start running, take profits gradually, maybe 10% out every 2x, or when your key milestones are hit. Too many people hold all the way up just to watch the profits go all the way down. You want to be that person who books profits and walks away with your gains, not just your screenshots of your peak portfolio value whenever it was. The more you systemize this now, the less emotion and guesswork that you're going to have to deal with later. Lastly, keep refining your watch list and be sure to stay plugged in. Monitor the social sentiment, analyst projections, and volume spikes. Be sure to stay connected with good communities like Trade Hero or groups that give real-time insights. Altcoin season does not last forever or wait for anyone. But when it comes, it moves fast. Have a clear plan and make sure you have the right tools, because that could be the difference between riding the wave or missing the boat entirely. The best time to accumulate is while everyone is afraid. Altcoin season may feel far away right now, especially if you're staring at red charts or dealing with a bit of market uncertainty. But history shows us that the biggest gains are made during the quiet times. When the hype fades and fear creeps in, that's usually your golden window to accumulate. Most people, they only start paying attention after prices have already doubled or tripled. But by then, the real opportunity is already gone. If you're serious about multiplying your portfolio, you need to be comfortable acting while everyone else is out there hesitating. That doesn't mean going all in recklessly. Have a plan and stick to it. Keep dollar cost averaging into a strong project or strong projects. Refine your exit targets and stay connected to trends that are gaining steam. Monitor Bitcoin's movements and sentiment shifts closely, because when Bitcoin starts breaking those key resistance levels like 125 or 150,000, that is your signal to prepare for altcoin ignition. So remember this, the biggest winners, they are always early, not perfect. Fear is loud, but conviction is quiet. If you tuned in to the macro trends, following the right narratives, and keeping your strategy consistent, the next altcoin season could be your biggest opportunity just yet, but it will not wait for anyone. Understand that, so don't sleep on this setup phase. Get your bags in order now, stay disciplined, and be ready to ride the wave when it hits. Thanks for watching, and as always, we will catch you in the next one.